Hello, fellow Republicans. This is Bobby Pickles on the ones and twos. And today I just wanted to drop a throwback podcast. I'm going to replay an interview I conducted with Gavin Mcinnes, founder of Hipsterdom, Vice Media, and the Proud Boys, in that order, respectively. Lately, there has been a couple tweets written and podcasts conducted by Tim Pool in regards to Johnny Rotten wearing a MAGA shirt. Yesterday, Tim produced a segment on it entitled Punk Legend Goes Full MAGA, leaving leftists shocked and angry. Leftists defect and join Trump train. Nifty title. He produced it in response to the Twitterverse exploding from the resurfacing of a photo of the iconic Sex Pistols lead singer John Joseph Lydon, aka Johnny Rotten, wearing a Make America Great Again shirt. Yes, the photo was just a resurfacing. Originally, it was posted in, I believe, October of 2018, but I thought I could recall seeing it earlier that year, or earlier, even a couple years before that, but that's probably just a mismemory. What's not a mismemory is the fact that yours truly has been saying that today's conservative movement is the new punk rock for going on 4 years now. For a couple of years prior to the 2016 presidential election, this show had a different format, interviewing punk rock icons and streaming the latest punk tunes. But when Trump won, all hell broke loose, and the punk scene underwent a drastic shift, whereby, as Tim Pool eloquently put it, today's punk is when all your opinions align with multinational billion-dollar corporations. I was one of the first, if not the absolute very first, to realize this. I'm just glad that movers and shakers like Tim Pool have finally realized and caught on. Welcome to the Republican Party, Tim. Here's me coining the phrase, Trump is punk, way back on November 7th, 2016, the day before Trump's historic election. I'll post a link to the original video in the show description. Enjoy. That's me! What's up, Gavin Mcinnes? Thank you very much for jumping on here. I really appreciate you hopping on with me and taking 2 minutes out of your day. I just wanted to ask your opinion on a couple things really quick. I recently, last weekend, went to a big punk rock music festival, and I covered it for our website, dyingscene.com. And while I was there, I was just completely dumbfounded. It was confusing. I thought punk rock was supposed to be about, fuck the government, anti-establishment. When did Hillary Clinton become the model of that? Punk bands were there using their performances as platforms to bash Trump. And it's just kind of funny to me because Trump's way more anti-establishment than Hillary is, I feel. And it just seems totally backwards. And I wanted to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, first of all, you're supposed to be young teenage anarchists. So you want no rules. You want nothing. It's punk rock. It's supposed to be on the outskirts of society. So you should hate Trump and Clinton and any rules. The rules are for fools, right? That's punk rock. But if you do want to play, then choose the one for the smallest government. So in many ways, Reagan and Thatcher were the most punk rock leaders because they wanted the smallest government. I mean, the way Reagan would talk about the government, he sounded like he was in crass. He would say, to say the government spends like a drunken sailor is an insult to drunken sailors because at least they use their own money. And I bet when Auntie passed, he said, no Maggie Thatcher and no government, Maggie Thatcher would go, yes, well, that would be ideal. Unfortunately, that's not possible right now. But she did, free up Britain from its ancient class system and allow them to have a free market, which allowed them to get out of poverty. I mean, she was fucking the punkest PM ever. But anyway, yeah, if you do want to get involved in politics, punk rockers, don't you want the guy who is not beholden to anyone? The most anti-establishment political candidate in the history of political candidates?
I mean, I'll answer for them. Yes, that's what they should be saying. But I don't know, man. I don't know what happened. I'm honestly usually a very liberal person, having lived in New York and Connecticut and, just being very more to the left, I've found. But I don't know if it's like that old adage or whatever about when you get older, you get a little smarter. Like, show me a man in their 20s who doesn't vote Democrat, and I'll show you a guy with no heart, and show me a person in their 30s who doesn't vote Republican, and I'll show you a person with no brain. something like that. I don't know if it's just me evolving or what, but I found that a lot of people that usually would vote left under the circumstances with what we currently have to select from, I find a lot of people voting for Trump. It's pretty crazy. I mean, it just seems like everything kind of flip-flopped and went backwards. I don't know, regardless of who you want to vote for, I feel like what you said is absolutely right. Usually punk rockers, it's about fuck both of them. Fuck the right, fuck the left. Don't tell me what to do. No rules and whatnot. And then somehow this just became all about the left. You go to a punk rock show and all of the bands are just all together and just yelling at you and telling you who you should vote for. Hillary Clinton.
Crass predicted all this back in the 80s when they said that we were trash, but the name is Crass, not Clash. They can stuff their punk credentials. It's them that takes the cash. They won't change nothing with their fashionable talk, their RAR badge, and their process walk. Bands of right wings standing in a park. Objecting to racism is like a candle in the dark. Black man's got his problems and he knows how to deal with it. He doesn't need help from you white liberal shits. After all is said and done, you realize we're all just niggers to the rulers of this land. That's the attitude you need to have if you're a punk rocker. But to not only get involved, but get involved in the wrong side and talk about my mother-in-law for president, who has been doing this for 30 years, who's been killing people abroad, who started wars in the Middle East with her husband, who's embezzled hundreds of millions through charities. It just shows what fucking ultimate cuck conformist punk rockers are. I mean, they pretend they're about rebellion, but what they're really about, for the most part, is conforming to one idea of rebellion. And you look at bands like Green Day right now, talking about how fuck Trump, and DOA saying fuck Donald Trump, and you just realize you guys aren't in it for rebellion. You're in it to shit on white people because that makes you feel civilized. And that's what we used to hate about the hippies, and now they've taken it on. It's pathetic.
It really is pathetic. We actually have a war correspondent guy. He does a lot of interviews. His handle is Anarcho-Punk, and the guy was on Facebook this morning talking about all the things that Clinton has done and versus Trump, saying like Trump has like lists of all these things that are totally substantiated, while Clinton just has the email thing. It's just completely preposterous and ignorant. By the way, what's your opinion on Comey this morning saying that there's nothing illegal in all these Clinton emails?
Well, it's sad that he pussied out so quickly. I don't know how he got through.
He's bought and paid for, right? I mean, the day before elections.
I think what happened was when he backed out the first time, apparently a lot of his boys quit and said, this isn't the FBI, we joined. And so I think he's regained some of his legacy. But ultimately, just like everyone in the establishment, he kowtows to the powers that be. And this is why a lot of people like Assange are saying that Trump is going to lose, because he isn't in bed with banks. He isn't in bed with military industrial complex and all that stuff. And you need to be in bed with at least one of them to win. So as far as I'm concerned, tomorrow is the end of politics as we know it. If this guy can't win, nobody can. We had a virgin up there with balls, Ted Cruz. They said no. We had a pussy up there who's never thought a bad thought in his life, Romney. They said no. So we got you the guy you asked for. He was perfectly calibrated to take on the establishment. And if he loses, then I just fucking give up. But here's the other thing about being an adult, too. Yes, Trump isn't perfect. No, he's not punk rock. Yes, he looks like the jocks that told us to get our hair cut in high school.
I don't know. He's pretty punk rock. I think Trump is punk rock.
Well, you have to deal with the hand you're dealt. I'm sorry he doesn't have a fucking mohawk and Chaos UK painted on the back of his leather jacket. But these kids are such spoiled brats that they want their leader to be someone like, I don't know, Ron Paul, who's untenable. Sorry, but America doesn't like Ron Paul. I like him too, but they want a guy who's cool, because America is ultimately an episode of Porky's and they want the cool guy in office. Okay, we'll get you a cool guy. We just want the smallest government possible.
Right. All right, well, we're all fucked. Hillary Clinton's going to win. I know that, and it's sad, but that's going to happen. It's all inevitable. What do you think about a lot of people have been talking about that is he was just a straw man, that he was a fake choice, and that obviously they'd make this about misogyny versus feminism, and that in the end everybody would be too scared to vote for Trump, or they would think that people would lump them into the same class of people as like rednecks or something like that. So people just ultimately be too scared or to vote for Trump or whatever, and then Hillary wins.
Yeah, I think that's true, but I think that Trump wasn't in on it. So the WikiLeaks are showing that Hillary's people did plan for Trump to be the guy because they thought they could easily batter him with a bunch of bullshit platitudes that women hate to hear, like, he loves rape, he hates black people, he is responsible for Mondays. When it rains on your birthday, that's his fault. And so they thought, let's use this guy. He'll be easy to wipe out. They were more scared of Bernie, so that's why they ousted Bernie. And I think possibly even promoted Trump at the beginning, but they didn't realize they were getting into bed with a monster. And all of a sudden, accidentally, I believe he kept going and going and going. And let's not totally give up here. I mean, I got a Hawaiian shirt on tomorrow for this big election party we're having, the Proud Boys here in New York. We are going to be partying. I'm going to get alcohol poisoning if he wins tomorrow. I'm going to be crying. I'm going to be dehydrated from crying tears of joy.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I would be doing that as well. I'll definitely be joining you. But what if it doesn't happen? Which probably it's not going to. I mean,
if it doesn't happen, then the Hawaiian shirt becomes the Hawaiian shirt that De Niro wore in Cape Fear. And it's no longer, Mai Tais and Sex on the Beach and flip-flops, Venge. And now we're still going to fight for our country with a speech and the Second Amendment, but it's no longer a fun party game because the top brass has been compromised, and there's no way we can ever get the White House back. There's no way we can ever reduce the size of government. So all we can hope to do is change the culture locally, terrorize these bastards who get people fired. These people who are terrorizing anyone who doesn't agree with the liberal narrative. We have to fight back against them on a personal level. So basically the short answer is, if he wins, it's party time. And if he loses, we're getting dark.
It's going to be guerrilla warfare or something. But
new Nazi skinheads. It's ironic. I spent my teenage years fighting Nazi skinheads because we are about to cryogenically unfreeze them and say, we need you back for one last mission.
All right, Gavin Mcinnes in New York City. Thank you very much, man. I really appreciate you jumping on here and giving your opinion, man. So if we could just leave with one last piece of advice to all the punks out there who don't have their heads completely and totally shoved up their asses.
My advice to you would be just follow the lyrics of Crass. If you choose to stray from the path that you've been taught, don't expect help and don't get caught. Any establishment figure, and that includes Trump if you're a young man, is just like someone at their high school loving the high school principal and going, don't fucking defame this guy. He's one of the best principals we've ever had. Stop having so much faith in someone else. You can handle your own life.